I am a social worker, so I work with a lot of interns. And whenever interns come into my program, I enjoy telling them this story because it was a defining moment in my professional and personal life where I really had to challenge the way that I looked at aging, the way I understood aging, and then also recognize ageism and how it lives just throughout everything that we do. So one of my roles at work is I manage a volunteer program for older adults. These older adults, they go out into classrooms and they work with children to support all various needs that they may have. And so this story is about me and one of my volunteers, Ms. Cassandra. This is about 8 years ago. So Ms. Cassandra was about in her mid to late 80s, small stature, African-American woman, gray hair, glasses. She'd had a long and successful career in childcare and social services. When it came time to retire, she felt like, you know what, I am not done. I still want to give back to my community. I still want to be out there. And that's what she did. She volunteered and worked with kids for almost 30 years after retiring. And then there's me, right? This is about 8 years ago. I'm in my early 30s. This is my first job working with older adults. I'm less than a year in the role at this point, and it's also my first solo event, so my boss wasn't there. I was in charge of my group, so this is a big deal for me. This particular day, it was Martin Luther King Jr. Service Day. We were partnering with the City of Boston and their volunteer programs. We had, for the past several weeks, been gathering different supplies to create care packages for children at Boston Children's Hospitals and then veterans at a local veterans hospital. So imagine this setup. We're in the ground floor of City Hall, a wide hallway, 2 long tables on either side, tons of things on there, arts and crafts supplies, knitted caps and scarves, writing and coloring materials, hygiene products, snacks, all that jazz. You grab a bag at the beginning of the table, you walk down the table, you put the stuff in the bag, you start over. That's the setup. My role for the day was to make sure everything ran smoothly. I had to make sure things were organized, restock the items when we ran out, made sure we had enough bags, basically making sure things went well. Miss C's role for that day was to pack bags. That's what she showed up to do. Something I didn't mention, Miss C had a cane. Did she use the cane? Sure. Did she use it all the time? No. That is important to the story. Okay, so we start. Miss C, she gets up, she grabs her bag, she's walking along the table, she's putting her stuff in her bag. Not a care in the world. I'm in the background, I'm scanning to make sure everything is going well, but I'm also keeping an eye on Miss C. Why is that? Now remember, I said I'm less than a year into this job, never worked with older adults before. So I'm scanning, I'm keeping an eye on Miss C. Why is that? Well, it's because she has a cane, right? And she doesn't use it all the time, and I know that. And I personally think that because she's an older woman in her mid-80s, she should be using her cane, and that's just what, old people do, right? They use their canes. So I'm prepared to jump in and be her savior. Not if, but when she needs me to jump in and help her out. So after a little while, I noticed that Miss C, she decides that she's not gonna use her cane. She's gonna hang it on her arm. It's clearly getting in the way of her packing up this bag. Well, although there are things happening around me that I should be paying attention to, of course, my eyes are now glued on Miss C. I'm sorry, I'm gonna use you as Miss C. My eyes are glued on Miss C because I'm like, hey, she put her cane on her arm, she's just increased her risk to fall, she's a fall risk. Makieya, pay attention to Miss C. And as one of the youngest people in the room, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna have to be there to catch her when she does fall, right? So the day goes on, I get pulled in one direction, I look over, I see Miss C, she looks a little unsteady, I rush over to her. Are you okay? Do you need me? Can I help? I get pulled in a different direction, I have to restock some stuff. I look over, Miss C drops something, I rush over. Are you okay? Do you need water? Let me grab that for you. I play this game. I go back and forth, running across the hall to different rooms just to come back to Miss C. I judged her movements and made decisions based on what I thought was right and what she needed. So the last time I played this game is when that need to think about ageism, that's when it really hit me. In my hurry to get across the room, to get across the hall, all of a sudden, this chair comes out. It was a chair, a pallet, something comes out of nowhere. And I trip, okay? I splatter to the floor of this hallway in the middle, in front of everyone. I'm embarrassed, I'm hurt, because I don't know if you've been to the ground floor of Boston City Hall. There are stones down there, okay? It's hard. So I'm hurt, I'm embarrassed, my pride is wounded, and it gets worse. Because at that point, Miss C was tired of me. She was fed up. And so in this calm speaking voice, and she has this voice that, one of those voices that has power to it, but without the volume. So she turns to me, cane still hanging on her arm, and she says, "Stop. You see, you almost broke your neck trying to come over to me. Go sit down. I can do it on my own." I'm gonna say that again. She said, "Go sit down. I can do it on my own." And what did I do? I went and I sat down. Because I had not thought about what it might have felt like to be in her role, to be a fully grown woman with great-grandkids, grandkids, children, and to have someone running behind her as if she couldn't do something, as if she couldn't do something that she signed up to do, as if she was physically incapable. I talked about how I was embarrassed. She was embarrassed by how I was treating her. I didn't treat anyone else that way. Dr. Nicole Reggiano, she's a researcher and a social worker at the University of Alabama. She says that older people have their own set of rules and logic that people around them are not aware of. And when you think about that, that makes sense. I think that can go for any of us, right? We move in the world based on what we know, and we figure out for ourselves how to manage things internally. Quick example, I have a ton of allergies. The list is ridiculous. My friends can tell you, I regularly eat things that I'm allergic to. Because I'm not gonna eat the things that will kill me. I'll eat the things that, may cause mild discomfort. But if I didn't eat anything that I was allergic to, I wouldn't be eating anything. And so for Miss C, her logic was, guess what? I feel good today. I feel steady. I don't feel like I need to walk with this cane. It's here if I need it. But I can do what I need to do, and I came out here to serve my community, and that's what I want to do. So nothing is going to stop me. And also, Miss C, she's like, "Hey, I have friends here. The minute I say I need to sit down, somebody's going to get me a chair. It doesn't need to be you, Makieya. You have a bigger job to worry about." And this is what she told me afterwards. So this interaction it set off a long journey of critical self-reflection. I prided myself on being the type of person who grew up in that community where you respect your elders, you revere your elders, but I never thought about what that actually means. And we treat people as a monolith, but there are certain things where some elders might have been okay with that, but some elders were not. I stop with the interns, they ask questions, we debrief and so forth. And inevitably we talk about motivation and intent. And even some people may think now, well, you didn't mean it. You didn't, mean to make her feel that way. It wasn't malicious. And that's right, there was no malicious intent behind it. But that does not change the fact that it was still hurtful, it was embarrassing, and it caused issues for her. And I'm grateful that she told me to go sit down, and I'm grateful for the continued conversations that we had after that so that I could understand more of her perspective. So my program that I run, it is made up of majority women, and for a very long time, particularly, because of course, Miss C went back and told everybody what happened, right? And it's interesting because they watch you, right? You come into the program, they watch you, they see how you interact with other people, and they judge that to decide, are you somebody we can trust? So if I had not taken that feedback or taken what Ms. C had said, if I had not taken that and adjusted and really reflected and changed, I would not have had the relationship or have the relationship I have 8 years later now with many of these women. over the past several years, they've been very candid about their experiences, what it's like to live as older women, for some as older women of color, for many as older women with chronic illnesses and disabilities. So here are a few things that I've talked about with interns, and really anybody that will listen to me. One of the things is, aging, like a lot of things, is a construct. And because of that, there are a lot of expectations about how age should be performed, especially for women. I've heard stories about older women, and even today, you've heard a lot of that as well, going to the hospital and not being listened to by the doctor, being dismissed, being misdiagnosed for something, or even being in a hospital, in a doctor's appointment, and the doctor speaking to the adult child and not at all acknowledging that older adult and what they need, or breaking things down to explain anything to them. I have a foster grandparent who is fabulous. She is beautiful. She wears her off-shoulder dresses. She'll put a slit in there. She'll wear her heels. And I've heard people say, she's too old to wear that. She was fabulous before 65. What makes you think she was going to stop afterwards, right? Another thing is that language matters, how we talk about ourselves, how we refer to ourselves. Ageism, we're exposed to it at a very young age, as a toddler, right? And we internalize those messages over a lifetime. And then what happens? As you age, you start to repeat some of the same things that you've heard around you. And then it starts to be pointed into yourself. All of us in here have said it. We've said something, we've done something, either to ourselves or to other people. It's so deeply embedded in our fabric. But the more that you understand and you're aware of what it is, the more you can try to address it. So this piece is to the profession, the field that I love, social work. We have to do better. All social work is aging work. No matter what you do, whether it's working with children, working in macro, working in clinical, whatever population you're with, you are impacting someone's life in that period of time. And that is something that they take with them and carry with them along their life's journey. So we have to do better in talking about aging, talking about older adults, and really integrating it into the work that we do. It's necessary not just for older adults today, but also for us tomorrow. We can't wait until we're in our 80s to say, hey, you know what? Let's talk about ageism. This is a pleasure to have been here today, to share this. I will leave you with a small call of action. If you were interns, I would tell you, go to class and talk about older adults. Bring it up, why aren't we reading about this? Or why is aging not discussed? Maybe you all are students, maybe you're not. I'll give you something else. Of course, there's a lot right now that's happening in the world. A lot that needs to be addressed and needs to change, policy change, systems change, a lot of heavy lifting. But a smaller suggestion that I have, that I've taken myself, is make a friend. Find someone who's not in your generation, that you're not related to, and make a friend. Go for a walk, right? Work your abductors, right? Learn how to cook something, learn a skill. A really quick story, I had a friend, Miss Evelyn House, and I met her through the program. She'd come to my office, she would harass me. She had a great sense of humor. We'd talk about books and plays. And I remember at one point I said to myself, this is who I'm going to be when I get older. Miss Evelyn died in 2019. Don't cry. And that was one of the biggest heartbreaks that I had. But I feel so blessed to have made a friend who was 40 years older than me, to have learned from her and to have taught her, because I know she learned a lot from me as well. And that the world is too lonely. There's too much loss, there's too much grief, there's too much isolation for us to not work on making connections with each other. So if that's one thing that you take from this, go out there and make a friend. Thank you.